everyone, welcome back to Medical Terminology. This week we're going to talk about Chapter 2, Prefixes. Let's get started. Following this chapter, you should be able to describe the role of the prefix in medical terminology. You should be able to identify common medical prefixes related to size and quantity. You should also be able to describe common medical prefixes related to position or location. You'll be able to identify common medical prefixes related to time, and also related to presence or quality. And finally, you'll be able to describe common miscellaneous medical prefixes. Learning Outcome 2.1. Prefixes tend to act like adjectives. Prefixes are connected to word roots or combining forms of base words to enhance or modify the meaning of the word. They often indicate size or quantity, position, measurement, direction or location, time, or the presence or quality of a specific factor that influences the meaning of a word. Learning Outcome 2.2. Prefixes related to size and quantity. Here you'll see we have bi and di, which both mean twice or double. Now this one doesn't necessarily relate to size or quantity. It's bio, but I don't want you to get confused between bi and bio. Bio means life, but that is a big issue that we see happen, so I want to point that out. Then we have brachy, which means short. And then we have hemi, and you'll also see semi, S-E-M-I, which both mean half. Then we have iso, which means equal or the same. Mega, which means large. Then micro, small, think of microscopic. Mono is single or one. Multi is many, and you can also see poly, and poly is many as well. That's P-O-L-Y. There's also a prefix P-O-L-I, but that has a different meaning. That's gray matter. All right, let's look at some more prefixes related to size and quantity. Here we have pan or panto, which means all or entire. A good way to remember this is when you're cooking, you put it all in the pan. Then we have pluri, which means several or more. You can kind of think of the word plural, right? There's multiple. Again, here was poly that I mentioned with the Y, meaning many. Then quadra or quadri, they both mean four, as well as tetra. Tetra means four as well. Then we have tri, which means three. And then uni, so if something's unilateral, only one side is being affected. So uni means one or single. Learning Outcome 2.3, prefixes related to position or location. So here you can see we have ab or abs. This is away from. You can think of the word abduction. If something's taken away, it's abducted, right? So that's a good way to help use that word association for memory recall. Then we have add, which means toward or to. Think of like when you add or subtract, right? When you add, you're putting things together. It's going towards each other. And then we have ana, meaning against, up or backward. We have apo, which is derived from separated from, so it's both of those meanings. And then kata, which means down. Circum means around, think of circumference. Di, diff, dir, or dis all mean not or separated. So think of like if your shoulder is dislocated, that would be a good example of separated. Dia is through. Ecto is outside or outward. I always remember Ghostbusters and the little ghost dude who spits out the ectoplasm. It goes outward and outside. And then we have endo, that's within. We also have epi, which means over, above, or upon. You'll see this one quite a bit. Ex means out of or away from. Think if you're going towards the exit, right? You're getting out of where you are. Exo is external, on the outside or outward. Extra is without or on the outside. Infra is positioned beneath, below, or under. Actually, these next two, inter and intra, do not get these confused. These are good ones to put on flashcards because I often see them getting confused. So inter is between, so think you enter between the doors. Or intra is within, so think of intravenously. If you're getting an intravenous injection, it is within the vein. So intra is within or in. Then meso is middle or median. I relate this back to Spanish. So mesa is like a table. So you got a mess in the middle of the table. I don't know if that'll help you or not, but it's there. And then we have para, which means near, adjacent, or beside. And then we have per, which is through or intensely. Then we have peri, which means around, about, or near. Retro, like a throwback, right? So it's behind or backwards. Then we have sub, like a submarine. So it's less than, under, inferior, below, or beneath. It can mean all of those. Then supra is above, over, excessive. Then finally we have trans, which is across or through. I think of like a transcontinental flight. It goes from one edge of the continent all the way through or across the continent to the other side. Learning outcome 2.4, prefixes related to time. So here we have ante, which means before. I think of whenever you're playing cards, if you're going to be betting or anything, you ante up in front. You got to put that up first. Then post is after or following. I think of like a post party, I'm just saying. Pre means before. Preme means first. And then pro, which means before or forward. Learning outcomes 2.5, prefixes related to presence or quality. So first here you're going to see that we have a. Now if you look down below you also see an. I just want to bring that out because you're going to have multiple prefixes that have the same meaning. So a is without, or I like to say no, not without. Then we have ambi, which means both sides. So I'm sure you probably heard of the term ambidextrous, where you use both hands. That means you use both sides. And then an, without, no, or lack. Anti means against or opposing. We use that one in a lot of our terms in English. Then we have bratty. It looks like Brady, but it's not the Brady Bunch. It's bratty, and it means slow. Then we have co, col, com, con, or core, which means together. And this one you can kind of think of conjoined twins to help you remember the con. And then maybe it'll help you remember those other derivations of it. Then we have contra, means against. So it's kind of like anti in that way, but you might have heard the term contraindicated. So it's against. Then we have D, which means away from or cessation. And then dys, D-Y-S, which means abnormal, difficult, or painful. Now there is a D-I-S and it has a separate meaning, not or separated. Let's look at some more prefixes that are related to presence or quality. So this first one up here we have EU, EU. It means well, good, or normal. Then we have hyper, which means above normal or overly. Then we have hypo, which is below normal. Mal, M-A-L, is bad or inadequate. Think about if you broke a bone and it's got a malunion, it's a bad union. Re, which means again, backwards. Think of like the word rewind. And then here's semi. Remember we had looked at hemi earlier. Semi also means half. Then we have sil, sim, sin, and cis, which all mean together, union, or joined. And then we have tachy. It means fast or rapid. Just keep in mind your spelling here, T-A-C-H. That C-H makes a k sound rather than a ch sound because of the language. And then we have ultra, which means beyond or excessive. And finally, we have un, which means not. Learning outcome 2.6, additional miscellaneous medical prefixes. Here we have auto. Auto means self. Again, for some reason, people like to mix this one up with bio as well. So remember, bio is life, auto is self. Then we have meta, which means behind, beyond, or after. You can kind of think of your finger bones, right? You have your metacarpals and your metatarsals. Those are beyond those hand bones and foot bones. Then we have para, which means beside, abnormal, or involving two parts. Now remember, if you don't remember all of these right now, it's okay. That's what we got our flashcards for. So make sure you take time and go through your flashcards at least once a day. I promise it helps. All right, let's review this chapter. So 2.1, prefixes are descriptive word parts that appear in front of word roots. They're important for adding specifics to the foundation of the words and describing additional conditions or qualities related to word roots. Then we have 2.2, which is common prefixes are utilized in various systems. This is an overview of basic prefixes that add to describing size and quantity. And then 2.3, it is important to condense several terms by adding a prefix that describes the position and or location. 2.4, to adequately treat a patient, it is vital to use terms that can describe time. This is an overview of basic prefixes related to time. Then we have 2.5. Common prefixes are utilized in various systems. This is an overview of basic prefixes that add to describing the function or structure of presence or quality. Then finally 2.6. Some medical terminology prefixes have no other place within the structure and function of the body or its systems. This is an overview of miscellaneous medical prefixes in this category. All right, everyone, that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you for Chapter 3. Bye!